one of the reasons he has me back so often is because I am so open about my mental health. And there are so many speakers in general who talk about business and the highlights and like, look how great my life is and my business is. And though that's amazing, more people need to talk about how fucking hard it is to have a business and how many struggles there are and how painful it is to have and own a company.
My mom has stage 4 cancer in her bones and in her breast. My dad's disease was 15 years, he died of ALS. I made a podcast about death, seemed like the thing to do. And if you're sad by all of this, well, you're gonna die too. Holy guacamole, welcome back to Dying of Laughter. It's Charles. Charles, who else? If you're new, welcome. If you've been around, welcome. I'm always excited to share these episodes with you because they're depressing and I'm fucked up. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. Welcome to my weird world. I'm Chelsea London Lloyd. My dad died of ALS and my mom has stage 4 breast cancer currently. But more specifically, they were both diagnosed when I was in 3rd grade. So I've been thinking about loss for quite some time. If you want to share your loss, I would love to hear from you or your anticipatory loss. Hit me up on Instagram at DyingOfLaughterPodcast. Share a voice memo. Share your thoughts. Let me know what's going on with you and how I can help. I have a lot of resources and I love connecting people. So let's chat. My win of the week is I'm really excited that an article I wrote was published in Lilith magazine, independent, Jewish, and frankly feminist. It is called How TikTok Brought Me Closer to a Grieving Child, and it's about my experience mentoring a 9-year-old through 2020 as her only parent was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, which my mom had as well and still does. Her mom is no longer with us, and how I was the person that she called. It's a long story. I ended up performing the piece through Jewish Women's Theater earlier this year in 2022, and now it's turned into an article that has been published. It's really rewarding. It's my first time having a paid published article. So give How TikTok Brought Me Closer to a Grieving Child / Lilith at Google. I'll also link the article in the show notes for you guys. So I appreciate your support and thanks for letting me share. Now, on to the episode. I'm so excited to speak with Holly Eve today. We're talking about natural deodorant and its relationship to breast cancer. Holly has over 15,000 people reading her articles. Okay, I'm going to link one in the show notes. We're talking about how she started a company at 29. She's speaking at USC all the time. How she lost one of her dear friends to breast cancer. How rescuing a dog after divorce helped her. And how being hit by a car and being in the hospital for a month impacted her life. Yes, we are tackling all of the things I just said. Holly is so sweet. We're actually working together and she's helping me with my own grief product, which is very exciting. More details later. She's just been such a source of inspiration and wisdom. And she was introduced to me through my friend, Haley Kewen. What's up, Haley? If you're listening, what an awesome connection. So again, Holly has her own natural deodorant. She started her own company. So entrepreneurs, this episode is for you. If you need a new deodorant that's natural, which was created with breast cancer patients and those adjacent to having sensitivities in mind, this is for you. I personally use her products and I'm obsessed. And I mean, it's just so important that your deodorant does not have toxic chemicals. And Holly did all of the extensive research so you don't have to. So here's a little bit more about how and why she started the company after her friend died of breast cancer, but also her other personal struggles and journeys, like I just mentioned. So thank you so much, Holly, for being here and for sharing. It's just an empowering episode. And there's definitely some parallels how she had a dog after her divorce, and now I have a dog, and we just have a lot in common there. So if you have been at rock bottom, hit by a car, had something really intense, divorce, tragic, something happened to you, such as grief and loss and or adjacent to grief and loss, this episode will help inspire you and make you feel less alone because Holly has been there. All right. Thanks so much for being here. And now on to the episode. Holly, thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad we connected with my awesome friend and your awesome friend, Haley. Can't wait to talk about your business and mental health. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Chelsea. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. So one question I ask my guests right off the bat is about your goldfish moment. And this was the first time you thought about or conceptualized death in some way. For some people, it was a goldfish. Is there something that comes to mind when I say that? Goldfish moment. Did your goldfish die? Goldfish moment. Did it make you cry?
I guess when I was, really young, my grandpa on my mom's side passed away when I was 4. And then I think when I was 5, my grandmother passed away. And I think that was the first time trying to understand death and what that meant.
Right. Understandable. Thank you for sharing that. And I know we are honoring your friend today. You've made this company in honor of your friend. Can you please tell us a little bit more about the story of meeting Stephanie and walk us through the timeline of her breast cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, I was living in New Mexico. That's where I grew up. And then when I was 19, I moved to California to go to school. And I was doing makeup at makeup counters in New Mexico. I was obsessed with makeup. And my cousin's friend, her makeup artist, canceled on a shoot. It was a breast cancer awareness shoot at the last minute. And my cousin's friend, Robin, knew that I was doing makeup at counters. And she said, I know you're going to be here. Can you do the makeup on the shoot? I had no idea what I was doing. So I collected all this makeup and samples from the counters. And it was actually the day after I moved to California that this breast cancer awareness photo shoot took place. And there were 4 women, all young, all with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And so they were wearing the jewelry, and it was honoring October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I became friends with Stephanie LaRue, one of the models on the shoot. And you would never know that she had breast cancer. She was just such a beautiful light. And I had told her that I just moved to California, and she just immediately embraced me as a sister. And I got really close with her.
I love that. I love that you got involved with the breast cancer shoot right off the bat. Like you said, the day that you moved here. And it's an interesting point that you say, oh, you couldn't tell that she had breast cancer, because that's been really eye-opening for me, seeing my mom with stage 4 and people in her life who have stage 4. A lot of people might look like they have cancer. A lot of people do not. So there are many people walking through the world today, even that you, I, or someone else might know, who do have cancer and don't choose even to share that information, which is really interesting. Do you remember how she first talked to you about her experience with breast cancer? I'd love to hear about how she got involved with the shoot. Was she always open about it? What did that look like?
She was really open about it. So she was 30 when she was diagnosed, and it was a short time before I had met her. So I think she had been diagnosed a year prior. And how she found out she had breast cancer, she and her boyfriend were having sex, and he felt on her breast a lump and said, this is kind of weird. I think you should get this checked out. And so she went to a doctor. She ended up going to 3 really well-known doctors in Los Angeles, and all 3 of them misdiagnosed her. And one of them even told her, you're too young, too pretty to have breast cancer. This is a mother's grandmother type of cancer. You don't have this. And so in the 6 weeks that they didn't test her, because this is how she explained it to me, when you're younger, cells replicate quicker, faster. And so in the 6 weeks that they didn't test her, the lump grew from her breast to her spine, making it metastatic. And so she really had to advocate for herself, force them to test her, which is really sad, because who knows what would have happened if in that moment they would have tested her.
It's really shocking to hear that 3 different doctors misdiagnosed her. And yet I've heard things like this before, and it just seems so unbelievable to me that we are still in a place where misdiagnoses are even possible. Like, why are we all not getting a full body scan every 6 months? Okay, well, don't listen. I'm not a doctor. A, I guess the radiation from that, and B, we don't have the resources to give these opportunities to everyone. But especially if someone's coming to you, I think I have this. I just don't understand how that happens. Did she talk more about what that was like, getting those misdiagnoses? I wonder. If you don't know, that's okay as well.
I'm a lot of anger and fire from that to become an advocate. And so she went on. When I met her, she had her hair, it had grown back, and I had seen photos of her completely bald. And she was, prior and even going through cancer, a model. And so she had these beautiful photos taken of her just bald and owning it, and really became an advocate and went to Capitol Hill and was trying to get laws passed and for this to be looked at, for women not to be told that they probably don't have it, and to test for women. So she used what she had gone through never as a victim. I never saw her as a victim. And she really used it to help other women and to advocate. And she was just such a strong warrior with such a bright light. To this day, I've never met anyone like her.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And Holly, can you talk about your transition from being a celebrity and TV makeup artist to being an entrepreneur and starting your company?
Yeah, it was actually 100% inspired by Stephanie. I am an entrepreneur today and have a business today because of her. As I became close to her, and we were just really like sisters. People thought we were sisters. We told people that we were sisters. People called us sisters. I was with her all the time, and she was about, I think, 10 to 12 years older than I am. And we were just always together. And so in that time, she would educate me on food, on veganism, on products. And she would always tell me that I needed to switch my deodorant. She would talk about all products, but I mean, if you went to her bathroom, it looked like Whole Foods, like Mother Earth, like farmers market, all natural products. And she was always telling me, you need to switch deodorant, do not use antiperspirant. And so I would try hers. I would buy several different products and nothing worked. And either I smelled worse, or I would get a rash, or I would sweat more. And for years, I was looking for a product. And at that time, I was moving to New York. And I remember she threw me a going away party and invited all of our friends. And she would always tell me before I moved to New York and just any big decision, I was always really afraid. And she would always tell me, put your big girl panties on. And so right before I moved to New York, she threw this party, surprised me, and she had really cute underwear, pink underwear, and she had all the friends sign it so I could take my big girl panties with me. So I moved to New York and continued taking small jobs and eventually built a whole career working with celebrities and agencies and on TV shows doing makeup. And at that time, I was still looking for a natural deodorant. And I finally found one, and it gave me a really bad rash. And my then boyfriend, he was like, you have to stop using this. I was like, it's the only thing that works. Like, I'm afraid because of Stephanie, I don't want to use an antiperspirant, and I have a rash, but I don't smell and I'm not sweating. So I'm going to keep using it. And then someone had noticed I was in a Krav Maga class sparring with a woman I was terrified of her. I think she's been like doing Krav Maga since coming out of the womb. And I was just new. And I was really embarrassed by this rash that I had. And I told her what it was from. And she said, have you ever tried lemons? And so I waited for the rash to go away and went to Whole Foods, Columbus Circle, bought a bunch of lemons and tried it. And my mind was blown because it worked so well. I wasn't sweating. I didn't smell. It was just really fucking crazy to me. And I was doing that for a while. And then I realized this is not practical to cut up lemons every day. And
Right.
I had a roommate at the time, and I was putting the lemons in a container. And then this idea came, I'm going to figure out how to turn this into a product and turn it into a company. And this was all because of my friend educating me. And yeah, that's how it started.
Incredible. I love the image of you just cutting up these lemons every day and like, don't eat this one because this one was in my armpit.
That's my armpit box of lemons. Don't touch that, roommate.
So tell us about the birth of Madame Lemy. Tell us about the birth of Madame Lemy. When did you first launch? What was your first product? And what is your favorite product today?
Yeah. So I figured out how to turn lemons into powder. And that is when I realized just using lemon was not as practical. And then that same roommate, I had him test it, and he had this really expensive white shirt. He went to a party and it turned his shirt completely yellow. And then I was like, this is not like, it can't just be lemon powder. And so DIY, I figured out the rest of the ingredients, and I didn't know how to do the scents, the essential oils. And I remember that I had met my neighbor one time in the elevator, who happened to be an Oxford trained chemist. And
Perfect.
it took me,
Thank
yeah,
gosh for that.
I know, smart people. And so it took me a while, but I remembered where he lived, which floor he was on. I knocked on his door, and he was holding a pan of shrimp and cooking. And he was like, come on in. And he helped me create all the scents and with the essential oils. And he also just taught me the chemistry aspect because I was just guessing things. And it's by complete accident that I figured out this formula that just is really effective and works. And a family friend happened to be the former VP of research and development for Elizabeth Arden, also a chemist. And I called him the first week I had the idea, and he became my mentor and walked me through the steps of how to start a beauty brand and all the legal aspects. And he's still a mentor today. I've hired him since to help me develop other products. And so it's still one product. It started as a natural deodorant, but a lot of customers were telling me that they were also using it as a body powder or a dry shampoo or an intimate powder. And I realized this is an all-purpose body powder. And there are 4 different scents. So there's rose, lemon, lavender, and lime. They're all 6 to 8 ingredients. Himalayan salt's the main ingredient, baking soda, cornstarch, arrowroot, and then each have the essential oils and the botanicals. And you can understand every ingredient on the back. And I'm just really proud that I developed something. And so many women have told me this is the only thing that works. And I read every review, and so many women have said, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I've been looking for this, or my family member was just diagnosed and I'm sending this to them. And Stephanie tragically passed away a couple months after I launched my company. And she was 42. She lived 12 years with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And I feel like this product is a tangible thing that's given me a platform to continue the message that she just freely gave to me and taught me. And it's just really turned into a really great platform that I can educate people with.
Incredible. And the fact that it's only 6 to 8 ingredients is really impressive, because I feel like a lot of products say that they're clean or they're like clean adjacent, but they have all of these other things. So the fact that you figured out a formula with very few ingredients is in and of itself impressive. What a win, right? And no aluminum, no antiperspirants. What are some other things that people should look for in their deodorant? I know about aluminum, antiperspirants, and parabens, which there is none of in these products. What other red flags do you see in beauty products today?
If there was one thing that if this was the only ingredient that I could tell people to watch out for, Stephanie taught me about this. And then as I was continuing to grow my company, my mind was blown. The word fragrance is what every person should look out for. Anyone listening to this should go and turn every product around and see if the word fragrance is listed on there. I had no idea. So I had been working as a makeup artist with celebrities and billionaires and exposed to a whole new life I didn't even know about. And what I realized was all of the clients that I had, they expected really high-end, expensive products. And I use those products and I would buy them. And I didn't realize that most of those products were toxic and carcinogenic in plastic and had been tested on animals. And they all had the word fragrance on there. And I had no idea what I was exposing myself to and other people to. So I went on this mission to develop a deodorant, and it was just absurd what I was learning as I was developing this. And I would get on the phone, I was calling the FDA because I had so many questions, because things just seem so unclear to me, like the word natural, that is not a regulated word. Anyone can use the word all natural in a product, and there's nothing that regulates that.
Right.
Then I started learning about fragrance, and I said, what is this fragrance? Why is this on so many products? So there is a loophole in the United States. There are over 3,000 toxic chemicals that can legally be hidden under the word fragrance. So they call it a trade secret. And what that does, it just protects companies from not having to expose what's actually in the products. And I also, as I was researching, learned that in Europe, the EU, they have 1,328 chemicals that are banned from being put into cosmetic and personal care products, skincare, makeup. They just legally are not allowed. In the United States, there are 11. And in California, they just passed an act, and I think now there are 24 chemicals that are passed that are no longer allowed. So there's progress in California, but it was just, my mind was blown that the laws had not been updated since 1938. So that's President Roosevelt. The cosmetic laws are a page and a half. And that is where all those chemicals with fragrance are protected. And it's cheap. I know I have a company. It's really expensive to produce things. It shouldn't be, but when you naturally source and you use expensive raw materials, it adds up. And so companies cut corners and they use cheap synthetic ingredients. They hide it under the word fragrance. And in that, there are a lot of parabens and phthalates, and you have no idea. There are usually 12 to 100 chemicals that can be hidden under that one word.
That's fascinating. I actually am familiar with what you're saying. I'm taking this and I'm like, yeah, I've been told this as well, and I think it's just Holly, I don't even know what to do or what to say. I'm like, it's absurd. I mean, it just should be illegal. And the average person doesn't know this and isn't going to take the time to do the research and to figure it out. And I've specifically been aware of that word as well, fragrance, and yet it's in so many things. I've never used any of the major player deodorant companies because my mom was diagnosed in elementary school. So I've been aware, but pretty much everyone I talk to does. So what is that like for you? You meet someone new, you tell them you have a company, your Team Natural, you have a natural deodorant company. What do people say? What are those first conversations like? Like, does it stress you out? Like all these people using secret? Like, how do you navigate all of this?
I try to sum up everything I said quickly, depending on the time frame that I have with someone. But
Right.
because I'm a public speaker and I use any platform, and I make sure to always mention that. And it's amazing how many emails and letters I get. This reminds me, I have to respond to someone on LinkedIn, someone from USC. She emailed me and she said, I had no idea. I'm on the search. I want to replace all my products. Can you give me some direction? And I think that I know that I cannot solve this whole problem, but the great thing is there are so many clean products popping up, and there's so many brands and indie brands that have been launching over the past even 5 years that I've been doing this. And a lot of these corporations are buying them out. It's putting pressure on these big brand companies. And they're not perfect, but I have seen a shift with a lot of corporations incorporating cleaner ingredients or taking toxic ingredients out, because prior it was just those big players in the cosmetic industry. And this is a new era where people are starting brands, people are founding companies, and there's social media. And these companies can't hide anymore. They can't hide what they're doing because there's a platform where people can talk about it,
right,
and they can spread this awareness. And I think that the more people like you and me and my friend, when she was doing it and talking about these things, and companies talking about it and putting information on their social media and people sharing that, I think people are waking up and just seeing like, oh, this doesn't make sense that I'm using this product that I don't even know what these ingredients mean when I turn it over.
right. Okay. I was going to do a little experiment. So this is something that I've been using. Is it okay if I read you the ingredients, and can you let me know what you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Water/aqua. Feel good about that. Potassium alum, in parentheses, mineral salts. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Polysorbate 20. That doesn't sound great.
I'm not sure what that ingredient is.
Okay, we're not sure. The next one, fragrance/parfum.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
Which is what we hate. Okay,
Yeah.
there's only a few more. Cellulose. Do we know what that is? Okay, don't know. Sodium bicarbonate. That seems like
Baking soda.
that's okay. Okay, that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's good.
Benzoic acid.
That's okay.
That's okay. Okay, blessings. Zinc gluconate.
I know zinc is okay. I'm not sure the second part to
Right,
that.
like they're like, but like let's put a good word like zinc paired with gluconate, and then in parentheses, made with essential oils and extracts. I mean, look, it also says no aluminum, no chlorohydrates, paraben-free, hypoallergenic. This is whole foods, so I would say this is a lot better than other things, but it's interesting that even like the super fancy whole food ones sneak in a few things like fragrance, which is bad.
Yeah.
So
I am still not an expert on every ingredient or toxic ingredient.
right.
I just know for myself, I now buy things where I understand the ingredients. And if it says fragrance, regardless of where I'm buying it, I don't buy it because I don't know what's hidden under there. And a lot of great companies like Tom's natural, you think natural, they were bought out, and I think they were bought out by, I can't remember who. I think Burt's Bees was bought by Clorox. Like a lot of these companies end up being purchased by other companies. And I don't know for sure, but I think that when you're bought out, those companies can legally then change things. Like Tom's has now a deodorant, I believe, that has aluminum in it. And so you have to make sure that you're buying the aluminum free Tom's deodorant, or certain products you just kind of like assume, oh, that's natural because it always has been. But I just tell people, look on the back, and if you don't know the ingredients, but you see the word fragrance, don't get it. Sometimes it will say fragrance, and then it will say naturally derived essential oils, and it's usually safe. But I know that product is, people love it. I didn't know that it said fragrance on the back. I feel like when my friend had it, it didn't say fragrance. So I'm not sure.
Right.
If that, I don't know. I wouldn't personally buy it.
Well, thank you for your honesty. And no, even Tom's has way more ingredients than what I just said. Like Tom's, I would say, is definitely the next level of bad. And then there's levels even worse than that. What about aluminum is bad for our armpits? I mean, just the fact that I'm thinking of aluminum that you cover food with. Like, is it that aluminum? I mean, that shouldn't be in your body, but why is aluminum bad?
It's different. So aluminum chloride. So there are two compounds that come together that create aluminum chloride. And I hope I'm explaining this right from my chemistry lessons. I think it was in 2015, Berkeley did a study and they linked aluminum to breast cancer. And there have been studies that have shown women that have had breast cancer that they found these trace elements of certain chemicals and deodorants in the lumps. There have also been a lot of studies that have said that it's not a direct link. I don't know if there's a profit involved where these studies are maybe paid off, where, oh, there's no link. Of course, those chemicals would be found in a breast lump. You're putting it there, that's safe. I just know that if I were to sum it up, if you can use safer ingredients that are not clogging your pores and allowing your body to do what it's naturally supposed to do, which is sweat, you should use that safer alternative. And with my product, there's cornstarch and arrowroot, which naturally absorb moisture. So even if you're sweating, it's absorbing it. When you're using aluminum, that is just cutting off your sweat glands. You're not sweating.
Yeah.
And so I could be wrong on this, but what I've heard and when I've talked to people, when you're putting that product on day after day and you're not sweating and those chemicals are going into your skin, which your skin absorbs anything you put on it very quickly, it's just compounded over time. So you're not sweating and there are chemicals trapped in your body.
Yeah, I believe that. And I believe that everything adds up to something, right? It's just like if you're eating horrible food your entire life, are you guaranteed to get heart disease? No, but you are significantly increasing your chances. So if you're using horrible products your entire life, are you guaranteed to get cancer? No, but you are significantly increasing your chances. And with cancer being so prevalent, roughly 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. There's a lot of information about the BRCA gene. If you find out that you have that, which I recommend that everyone does, up to an 80 to 85% chance of getting breast or ovarian cancer. There are all these things we can find out. So same with products and ingredients. If you can find out, yes, this ingredient can link to this, doesn't mean never use it the rest of your life, although it can. And if you never use it again the rest of your life, you win. We love you. But can you significantly decrease the amount of times that you are using that product? Like for me personally, real talk, I use a natural deodorant or no deodorant every single day, unless I'm going to an event, which has not been that often in this past year or so. But it's like if I'm going to a speaking event or like there's going to be hundreds of people at a wedding or something, I'm going to use a stronger brand that's not as good for me, but I don't use it day to day. And to me, that's a big difference. What are some other things that people can do to start decreasing their use of these products?
Well, that made me think of two things. First, everyone should watch Stink. It's a documentary, and I've had the privilege to interview the person who's done this documentary, and there is statistic in there a woman talks about from the 1960s and 70s, when all these new chemicals and petrochemicals have been introduced into cosmetics and skincare, there's been a parallel rise in the amount of breast cancer and disease and hormonal related diseases that women have had. There's been this link. There's been a spike in the chemicals. There's been a spike in these diseases. So there's absolutely a link there. And I think other information or other advice that I would give to people wanting to switch, because it can be really overwhelming, is to start slowly. I think that it can be challenging when you look at a bunch of products and you think, I just spent all this money. Replace every product. When something runs out, replace it with something that's safer and natural, and educate yourself on what you're using, and go to the website of the product and really get to know the company and what they're selling and what the ingredients are in the product. And I can also link an article. I wrote an article for Forbes about this, and it was saying that it's not as pretty as we think it is with skincare and makeup, the industry. And I put a lot of information in there, and that article did really well. Over 15,000 people read it and shared it. And so there's a lot of information in there as well of stores that people can buy products at and feel safe knowing that they're not toxic.
Congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
impact. And thank you for writing that article. I would love to link it in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a good point about replacing, right? So instead of buying something new right now, it's like, wait till it runs out, and then you have to buy a new one anyway. So what are you going to buy to replace that product?
Yeah.
Holly, I would love to talk a little bit more about your experience as a speaker. You have spoken at USC many times, and you've spoken at many places, and you combine the topics of entrepreneurship and mental health. Can you share more about what that looks like?
Yeah. I started speaking at USC when I launched my company, and I just thought my life was so together, and look at me, I'm 29. I think it was 29 at the time. I started this company, and I just really thought my life was perfect. And 3 months after I launched my company, so I'd lost my friend to breast cancer. And shortly after that, I got a phone call from my then husband. He was doing a job in another state and told me he wanted a divorce. And I really spiraled into such a just severe depression. And I'll get to how I ended up linking entrepreneurship to mental health, but this is the backstory of how it came to be.
Please, yeah, go for it.
So I really spiraled into a really, really dark place. And I know now that that type of depression, it was not necessarily about that person or that divorce, but a lot of early childhood trauma, things that I had not dealt with. And I had been sober at that time for, I think it was at that time, 9 years. And I thought that I had overcome a lot of those early traumas from being sober. And I hadn't really fully dealt with that. And so going through this divorce and feeling like I was abandoned and feeling alone in the world, I just didn't want to be alive anymore, and had tried several times to end my life. And I became really suicidal. I was Googling every day painless ways to commit suicide. That's just how low things got for me. And I was in an outpatient facility 3 times a week, getting help around my mental health and seeing a therapist. And it just wasn't enough. There was one night where I was driving on the 210 freeway, and I took my seatbelt off, and I was praying and crying and deliberately trying to get hit by a truck. And shortly after that is when I knew I need help. I didn't want to be alive, but I also I also wanted to be alive, but I just wanted the pain to stop. And so I checked myself into the hospital's Los Encinas, and I checked into their inpatient hospital and got the help that I needed. And really slowly after that, very slowly, things started getting slightly better. I had moved into a very small 300 square foot apartment with my dog that my ex and I had rescued. I found her. She was hit by a car. She had a broken hip and tailbone when I found her. We had surgery for her. I ended up keeping her. I kept her through the divorce. And then I was walking her every day. My therapist said, just walk your dog, work on your company, find some joy each day. And so I was walking her at the Rose Bowl every day. And then this was about a year later. I had found out that Urban Outfitters wanted to carry my product. They
Amazing.
Yeah, it really was. I took a video of myself when I got the email because I was by myself and I was like, I have to remember this.
Wait, I love that you did that, like capturing that little moment. I mean, not little, huge moment. That's incredible.
Yeah, I still have it. I'm in tears and I just no one was there to record it, but I was just oh my God, I'm my life is making sense again. And usually as a company or as a founder, you're constantly reaching out to companies. So the fact that they reached out to me was just really amazing. And so I thought, okay, things are getting better. And I was still speaking at USC. So when I had gotten to a point of being okay enough, I was going and I was slowly starting to talk about my depression and running a company. And I just saw the effect that it was having on people. And then, so I got into Urban Outfitters. And then 2 weeks after that, I was walking my dog and she saved my life. So I was about to get in my car to go to the Rose Bowl. And I realized that I forgot the adapter for my headphones. And my first thought was, I don't need music. And then my second thought was, I want to listen to music. And I saw the crosswalk light was on. And my dog, as we're in the crosswalk, pulled me. So I looked to the right, not knowing that I was going to get hit is what saved my life. A distracted driver in a delivery van sped up to turn and hit me. And I dragged my dog. I flew 20 feet. I woke up on the asphalt thinking I was paralyzed.
Wow.
It was the most terrifying moment in my life. And I was in the hospital for almost a month. I was diagnosed with a brain injury. I had to learn how to walk again. Tailbone broke. It's just really crazy that I was praying a year before that for that to happen. And then it happened.
Wow.
And I think that we manifest things all the time. And the difference was that I prayed for that to happen. It happened and I survived it. And so when I was in the hospital, for a long-winded answer, I remember thinking to myself, I have to do something with this. When you're in a hospital bed that long, you have a lot of time to think. And my thought was, I have to speak about this. I have to write about this. I have to use a platform and I have to help people who are feeling suicidal. And I wrote my story and sent it to about 20 business publications because I merged this topic of entrepreneurship and mental health and got very honest with my struggles. And no one got back to me. And I kept following up with Forbes. And then finally, the editor of Forbes Women, she responded and she said, we don't publish one-off pieces. Would you be interested in being a contributor? And so I was hired to contribute to talk about entrepreneurship and mental health. And that's what I still cover today. And then I started speaking at USC and I just started sharing this story really openly. And as I was talking to you earlier, I have just thousands of letters from students over the years. And so many of them talk about not necessarily their business, but about their own mental health struggles. I've had women that have reached out to me and asked me to meet with them for coffee. And they told me that they were raped and they had never told anyone. And it's just been really impactful that, I made a deodorant. That's what this started as. And it's opened up this whole channel of talking about such deeper, meaningful topics. And though these things are hard to talk about, I think that these conversations need to be had so people don't feel alone.
That's such a beautiful share. Thank you for what you're doing. And I love the full circle point that you're making of, I started a company making deodorant. It was coming from this beautiful place of honoring your friend. And then you're able to help so many other people with experiences, not just about cancer, but about mental health. And the things that you've shared even here and now are really impactful and just honest. And the fact that we can talk about this is warming my heart to get to hear from you, even just meeting you, because I appreciate it. This is real. This is raw. This is what people feel. And I'm so sorry that you did feel that way. And I'm so inspired that you've gotten to where you are now and use that time in the hospital to craft this speaking engagement that you can now repeat and contributing for Forbes regularly. How incredible.
Thank you.
How incredible.
Yeah.
Also, thousands of letters. Oh my goodness, from USC students. That is so cool. So what is your talk called when you go to USC? Do you say the same things each time? Do you tweak it based on the class or the presentation?
It's usually the same structure. Albert Napoli is the professor there who's a mentor, and he's one of the top business professors there. And he's been asking me for the past over 4 years to speak there. And so it's a Q&A like this, like a podcast, but not recorded, and in front of, depending on the class, anywhere from 60 to 100 students. And he'll ask me questions, and then we just have a conversation. And I think one of the reasons he has me back so often is because I am so open about my mental health. And there's so many speakers in general who talk about business and the highlights and like, look how great my life is and my business is. And though that's amazing, more people need to talk about how fucking hard it is to have a business and how many struggles there are and how painful it is to have and own a company. And when just in general, regardless of what it's about, when people hear real stories of the struggles that people go through, I think people just naturally connect to that more. And Stephanie, my friend, she was just really authentic when she spoke and very real. And also, so learning from that, and then being in AA for so many years, where you get asked to, I don't know how familiar you are with the 12 steps programs, you get asked to speak. And over the years, I've spoken at so many meetings, or you raise your hand and you share. And it's just a group of people who are relating to each other, talking about really dark things, and then with the hope of getting to a better place. And that allowed me to learn how to do this more openly.
I appreciate that. What is the biggest challenge you faced in your business recently? And what is the most exciting win you've experienced recently?
The biggest challenge recently has been caused by the pandemic. So I'm sure you've seen every industry is having supply chain issues.
Right.
And my company exponentially grew during the pandemic. And I had a certain sales goal that I wanted to reach, and it started tripling that.
What?
And yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
It is and it isn't. I think people were at home and they're like, well, no one's going to see me. I'm going to try natural deodorant. So I'm sure every natural deodorant brand was hopefully thriving because people were home and testing it out, not afraid because they weren't in an office. And it grew so much that I sold out of almost everything. And because of supply chain issues, so we put some items on pre-order, that it was May when everything sold out. And then it was, okay, everything's going to be back by August. And then just delay after delay continued to happen. And those products just started shipping last week. Some of them are still shipping this week. And of course, a lot of people understood because we were sending emails.
But some people want their money back and don't want to do it anymore. And you have to deal with that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Some people asked for refunds, and we gave those. Absolutely. We refunded people. We were sending free product. We were just trying to do everything we could for each person that was reaching out. And I felt awful. I had no idea. That was not my intention. And so we have so many positive comments. We had an ad that was running, doing so good. It had over 1.6 million views. And there were mainly positive comments on there, but also, as people should, they were using it to talk about, like, I haven't received my product, and people were upset. And it was never my intention for that. I never thought that it was going to be months later. And it was really just stressful because I felt bad. And I was doing everything I could to get everything. And once everything was at my manufacturer, I have a really big manufacturer now, Bentley in New Jersey, and they were trying their hardest to get everything done quickly, but they have 85 companies that they work with, and there's a system and a time frame of when they can get to each company. And so I was just trying to speed things up, and you can't control everything. And that was just really challenging. I am surprised I don't have more wrinkles or like gray hair.
I cannot imagine. That sounds wildly challenging and from, I don't have a ton of friends that have products, but a couple people that I do know that do have all said the same things. You totally want to pull your hair out. And then the way I can relate to it is we moved into this town home in February, and we have this like this whatever couch. It doesn't matter. It's a couch, but it doesn't match anything. And we're like, we'll just keep it for a few months as we're buying all of these new pieces. Our couch is not arriving till next January. Good thing that we were thinking of like selling it before we even brought it in the door, because we're like, we don't want it here, but we're like, just in case. And it's like going to be a very long time till we have that new couch that we ordered. So there you go.
Wow. It's every industry. If you go somewhere and you want to rent a car, I'm remarried now. We eloped in Maui and
congrats. We love to hear that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Lovely man. I'm just so lucky, but we couldn't find a rental car. And when you were driving there, every dealership, there are like no cars on the lot. It's furniture, cosmetics, like every industry has been affected by it.
My goodness. And then I do want to ask you about your biggest win, but just a few more things here. So you said your product is manufactured in New Jersey. I think I've heard it's really expensive to make your products in America, but you just mentioned New Jersey. Are your products made in America?
The ingredients I globally source. All the ingredients I globally source from different countries, depending on which ingredient it is. And then the products are manufactured at Bentley. So I had made them prior. And then another challenge, in the time of waiting for my manufacturer to finish the first purchase order, I needed product quicker. And so I've been renting a sterile kitchen and hiring a team of people and making them in the interim. And it's just really hard and a lot of physical work. But, I made this product. I know the chemistry behind it. I know how to make it and mix it and fill it. So you just do what you have to do when you have a company. And then the biggest win, I wish that I had something really spiritual and amazing to say, but the biggest win is that I have the product back at my shipper now, and then it's shipping.
We love an honest win, and that is a win. Being able to sell the product that you sell is a win, because last year was wild. So thank goodness for that. And then just a couple more things here, else I could talk to you all day. What is it like collaborating and reaching out to other businesses and publications? I would imagine there's collaboration with influencers. Are you a one-man band? Are you hiring out to do that? I know some people have VAs or an intern. Some people like doing it themselves. I talk with a lot of creative people who are interested in entrepreneurship, so I'm wondering what that's looking like.
Yeah, I have a couple people that work for me now, and I don't have full-time employees. Everyone that works with me, it's freelance, and they do similar work with other companies. I hope that I get to a point where it grows a lot and I can bring on a couple people, but even then I want to keep my company really small.
Right. And you want to be involved because it's your baby and your product.
Yeah, I've grown my company a lot from when it launched, where I didn't even know that I could grow it that much that quickly. And that's a great thing, but it's also, you have to be prepared for that type of growth. And there are things that I'm doing differently now, but I have one person who has been with me pretty much since the beginning, who does the marketing, and she's just so great at that. It's how my company also grew, from her knowing ads and how to target and how to effectively run ads and emails. And then I have another person who works with me with the logistics and day to day. I wish that I was better like tech things and emails. Working as a makeup artist for so long, the only thing I had to do was answer an email. Like, okay, here's a call time and I'll be there. I hate emails. Like, I wish I just never had to like open them or answer them or like figure things out. And so luckily I have somebody who is really good at when there's like tech things involved or like linking things or integrating things. I have someone that helps. And then I have an amazing graphic designer. I have a lot of people that I work with. Probably over a dozen for different areas. And so when I need specific work done, I hire them and then collaborate with them. But everything that is produced from my company is from my brain, my idea. And, I'm not an artist, but all of the packaging, I found really great designers and artists, and I've articulated everything that I wanted. And I get mood boards and I've launched new products are launching soon. They're custom gift sleeves, which I'm
Ooh,
really excited
tell me
about. And
more.
so for the gift set that we sell, now people can do like a wedding one, a bridal, and they're all in French and
Perfect.
beautiful artwork. And they're all gold stamped, and a birthday, a thank you. And the one that I'm really excited about that's been getting press, it's our celebration day divorce in French.
Yes, that's perfect. Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm just excited for you.
Oh no, I'm excited too. I think I have one I can show you. I know this is a podcast, but so this is the sleeve and it goes on this gift set. And so it has like
This is
lingerie,
stunning. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this.
their divorce papers, signing, a cake split in half, champagne, lipstick. It was a joke on a phone call. And then I was like, this should be a product. You know, if your friend's going through a divorce or a breakup and you don't know what to say, like send her this for her future self to know she's going to be celebrating soon. And you just never know what you can pull from your own life to create things.
I love that you did that. For anyone who can't, well, okay, no one can see it. Like for those that can't see, okay, no one can see this. This is beautiful packaging. You guys have to stay tuned and like get on that email list and check it out when this launches. Wow, that's so smart to have the different sleeves. What is it like launching a new product? Do you have goals for how that looks each year? Do you wait for the inspiration to hit? What is that looking like?
I am constantly inspired. If I had the funding, I would have launched like two other lines and 100 products by now.
Right.
And I started doing that. I started working on other products. And Albert, who I mentioned, such a great mentor, he always like brings me back to like reality, like focus on what you have. And so this started with just the large size. And then people said, oh, I wish I could travel with it. And so then I made the mini version and then I did the gift set. And so it's the same formula. I've just found different ways to package it. And then people were buying the gift set and they wanted to gift it. And I thought I should do these gift sleeves. And so I've been smart in the fact that I found different ways to launch things that are centered on the same product.
Right.
And for the gift sleeves, I was able to do different artwork. And though the graphic designer did all this, this was all from my head. All of the artwork, the concept was my idea. And it's amazing how, you know, she made this come to life and they're just so amazing. I do want to launch more products. I have a bath salt that I'm working on. I have a baby line that I've been working on
Wow.
of products. And I'm just waiting for the right time for people that are listening that have a business or that want a business. It's okay for an extended period of time to just focus on a hero product or one product and grow your following and be very detail oriented to perfecting that one product. And then when the time is right and there's enough funding and revenue and it makes sense, then you can start launching other products. But I think a lot of companies go under because they think, especially beauty brands, like, oh, I need 10 to 12 products. And you really don't. You just have to have one good product.
Right. Or at least the one that everyone's really the most excited about. That's what puts you on the map, right? Because then you can have these other things, but it's almost like confusing if right off the bat you launch with too many things. Like I think less is more in general. Like the fact that you have like a handful of scents as opposed to like 1,000 scents. Like if you had 1,000 scents, it's like, okay, well, they just have everything. Like it actually makes the buyer confused, in my
Yeah.
opinion, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what is this? Okay, there's like candy and then there's flower scents and then there's this and then it's just like, no.
Too much.
But I can see how you also want to expand. And so it's like splitting the difference in the way that you're doing it and the timing of introducing those new products that make sense. Well, it's really interesting. I could talk about this all day. I think it's so cool. I don't even have my own product. I'm like, oh, and how do you do this? And when do you do this? Because I feel like everyone wants their own product, right? Everyone would love that. But here you are. You did it. So congratulations on making it happen. Can you, before we go, closing thoughts, can you share, because it is the Dying of Laughter podcast, a comedic moment? I normally ask about a comedic moment pertaining to your grief or death story, but I would also like to open it up to a comedic moment surrounding your experience, having your own business, trying to get something out and it didn't happen, or something so frustrating or bizarre where you just had to laugh.
This is actually, I can share this story. This part is, you know, really sad. My cousin in the spring, she was 43 and suddenly passed away. And So hard. Death in general is so hard. And when it's unexpected, I think that's when there's just so much grief and confusion. And I was at my cousin's house, and she with her husband and son and her brother, my cousin, and everybody, of course, is so sad. And I don't know why we started talking about this, but we were talking about tombstones, and we were looking up like funny tombstones. And it really just brought laughter to the moment because I said I just saw one, I think it was on Instagram, and the tombstone said, "I told you I was sick." And we were just laughing so hard. And then one of them just said, "Bye." That was
Oh
it.
my gosh. Stop. Oh my gosh. Okay. It just says bye. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're real tombstones that say, I guess, what people wanted to say, or they just planned it out ahead of time. And it just brought like a glimpse of laughter in a really heartbreaking moment.
Beautiful. I love that share, and I'm totally cracking up. I'm like, should mine say bye? Like, I really like that. So thank you for planting that seed. Holly, can you share closing thoughts for our listeners? And do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, my closing thought is never feel shame asking for help. If someone is listening to this and you're feeling depressed or suicidal or lonely, know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and there are people always there. And if you feel like you have no one to talk to, call a suicide hotline number. You can Google them. There are always people available to talk. So that is my closing thought. And my question for you is, what is next for you?
What is next for me? I am hiring more freelance people to work on the pod. So that's exciting for next year. I have a VA and a remote editor. And then I'm bringing on someone to do more graphics and social engagement. That's something I'm really involved in. But in terms of the amount of creation on Canva and like a lot more posts about facts and stats, because there's so many months and days. Like, I did a big push for Breast Cancer Awareness Month this year, and yet there are other months, like January is National Mentoring Month, and then there's Ovarian Cancer Awareness, and then ALS and Rare Disease Suicide Prevention Month, and just people helping with all of the graphics for all of that addiction. I mean, there's so many kinds of losses, so that's exciting. Potentially bringing on PR as well. We'll see how that goes. I've had a few meetings this week, and continuing to do stand-up in new cities. So that's something that I never was really able to do with all of auditions for traditional film and television being in person. I prioritized that over stand-up, and or was continuing to do stand-up in LA. I was like, I'm not going to go to Colorado. I could miss an audition. But I've been in Florida. I've been doing new cities doing stand-up. It's a great way to meet people because my auditions are virtual. So continuing on the virtual journey and seeing where it takes me. Thank you for asking me that.
Yeah, I saw Haley post your stand-up. Was it for Jay Leno?
Oh, yes. Not for, but he was on the same show, which was cool.
Yeah. Oh, I mean the show, but you were opening before him. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. She was so sweet to come. Yeah, that was really fun. It's been fun to get stand up going again, because that was something that it did not exist at all last year. And
Yeah.
even just the momentum of doing it all the time and then not doing it for a year, I was like, oh, it was just weird getting back. But thank you for asking me. What is next for you, Holly, and for Madame Lemy?
New products when the time is right. And then I'm working on a memoir.
Wow, incredible. How is that going? That's so cool.
It's going, and then it stops, and then it's going.
Yeah.
I'm going. I have some dates that I'm goals of when I want to finish things by. And I have a really great editor that I work with who's also written memoirs. And a lot of people now are doing book proposals. So you do the proposal, you get it to an agent. If that agent sees that there's a unique story in there, then they pitch it to the like top 4 publishers. So that's, I think, maybe the angle that I'm going to go.
Great.
So I'm working on the first 3 chapters and the proposal, and hoping that goes somewhere.
Wow. Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Incredible that just seems like such an exciting and incredible process. So congratulations. I hope it goes great.
Thank you.
Where can people connect with you online and, of course, buy your fabulous products?
I'm on LinkedIn, and then under Holly Eve, and then my social media, I'm on Instagram, Holly Eve Beauty, and then Madame Lemy is on Instagram, and then our website, madamelemy.com. We're on Amazon, on Macy's.com. Our site is probably the easiest way to find the products. And there is a discount that's 15% off, and it is grateful in capital letters.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that code. Thank you for sharing the code. It's really appreciated. Yeah. Code grateful, madamelemy.com. Check it out. We are grateful for you being here. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yodo, you only die once.